Hey guys, this is Al Heck over at RenderReady.com, and today we're going to be UV unwrapping a building. It's kind of a little bit harder than the other UV unwraps, but we're going to be using all the base things inside of Cinema 4D, so we won't need any plugins and we should be able to bust through it pretty quickly. If you haven't done the bowling pin tutorial yet, you probably won't have the layout that I'm using, so you're probably going to have some difficulty finding where some of these buttons are. So make sure you go to that tutorial, at least download the preset, follow the instructions, and then come back to this one and you should be able to run right through it. Alright, so this is the final product that we're going to be looking at. This is pretty much exactly what you want to do as far as buildings go. And the main important thing I want to show you is that if you look at these letters that scroll right across, they keep continuing all the way across. So they're exactly even. So when you do distribute your UV and your textures onto here that have like windows and such like that, it's going to be aligned all the way across. It's going to make your life really easy. Okay, so we have this horrible cubic map that we're going to start out with, and it's completely dispersed the wrong ways, nothing is connected. So in order to do this, and I'm just going to delete this material tag, we're going to start by selecting different areas and UV mapping those and then hiding them. So what I mean by that is we're going to go to our polygon selection tool, and I'm going to start by selecting this roof right here. So I'm going to select this roof and hit UW. Now let's see if this roof is all selected. It is. So I want to work on this section of the roof first. So up here there's a tab called Hide Unselected. Go ahead and press that, and now in our UVs all we're dealing with is this roof. So I'm going to pull out my line mode and my loop, and I'm going to select cuts for my UVs. So I'm going to cut right there, I'm going to cut right there, and I'm going to select right here and right here. So I'm going to select basically the outer rim edges. So I got those 4 squares going right there, and I'm going to go from a top view, and then I'm going to go to my UV polygons mode with everything selected, and I'm going to project it in frontal. So it's going to project the top view down as a frontal view. Then I'm going to go to relax and make sure my cut selected edges is turned on. I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to do a optimal map with no preserved orientation. So it's going to try to turn it to the correct 90 degrees that it thinks it's going to do. But you see this area right here is pointing the opposite direction of this area. So to fix this, what we need to do is go to our selection tool, highlight what we want to change, press UW, then press R, and then we're just going to rotate our UVs. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to rotate it a little bit so that Cinema 4D knows what direction we want it to go in. And I'm also going to select this arch right here. I'm going to press U, W to select that arch. I'm going to hit the R button, and I'm going to rotate this horizontally like that. And I'm going to select this UV, U, W. I'm going to rotate it this way so it's kind of aligned to a normal horizontal path. Now I'm going to do Command A, and now I'm going to realign. And now this awning, this roof, is done. So we're going to do the same thing with the next roof. My selection tool, and I'm going to select all my UVs on this side, and doing a quick realign with the preserve orientation. You can see I got 2 roofs, 1, 2, 2 sides of the angles, 2 bars, and I'm just going to move this over to the side and hide selected. Now I'm going to go through and select this building. I'm going to hit U, W. It's going to select pretty much the entire building. I can check by clicking this hide selected, and you see that it hides most of my building. So I'm going to take this, and I just want to hide this right now because I want to worry about this awning and these bars. So what we want to really focus on right here is to UV unwrap these poles down here, as well as these columns and these kind of cross beams in this area. Now, if you select, let's say, this first column, press U and W, And that selects this whole thing. It would kind of make sense. All right, well, let's just use a cylinder unwrap to take care of this. Now, if I hide everything else and just look at the cylinder unwrap, we're going to notice that we have a real problem here. Even though the cylinder unwrapped correctly, you see the caps? The caps have absolutely no UVs. So if I just select the caps themselves, turn off the only visible, you see how those are not correct. That is not even registering a UV because it's only doing it horizontally and it's not looking vertically. So maybe in this instance, what we want to do instead is let's go to, let's say, a box unwrap or a cubic unwrap, and you could see how these there are a little different, but it's still using a cube to split this up, and we'd like to keep most of this column together. So in this area right here under optimal mapping, if you use an angle, and normally this is set to 50%, if I hit apply, it's going to try to do an angle of 50%, which I'm assuming is the angle is 180 degrees and half of that is 90. But if we go to 100% and give that a shot, you see how it's put a lot more of these polygons together to create the column, and then it still separated the caps up here. So if we go to, with our optimal angle, go to relax and relax everything, and then go realign without the preserve orientation on, it's going to do a pretty good job, but there's still going to be gaps between here. Now, if you want to, you can take this an additional step further and select the individual columns, and then you can go to cylinder and then relax and then realign, and that will stitch the entire cylinder together. It really depends on how detailed you need each column to be. But in this situation, I'm planning on doing all of these columns at one time. So I'm going to go back and select all this goodness right here, and then I'm going to hide everything that's unselected. And watch how I do this real quick. I'm just going to go to my selection tool, and I'm going to highlight, I'm going to use the polygon selection tool. I'm going to start highlighting all of my columns, and then I'm going to press UW to make sure I capture all the caps. UW. And if I hit the hide selected, you see how I missed one column right here. So I'll undo that, select UW, hide selected, and that should get all my columns right here. But I also, and you know, I'll actually save this in just a second, but let's just work on these ones up here. Okay? So I'm going to follow the same format. I'm going to go to frontal, and then I'm going to go to optimal mapping, and I'm going to go to angle. And then I'm going to go to relax, and I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to let Cinema 4D relax everything. And I'll make sure I hide all the unselected things as well. And then I'm going to go back to optimal, and I'm going to realign without preserving orientation. And I'm just going to click this button a couple times, and you notice how all the vertical columns, the big major columns, are right here. Some of these are turned horizontal, some of them are turned vertical. I really don't like to have those facing different directions, so I'm just going to select all the horizontal ones and then hit UW, and then I'm going to hit R, and I'm going to rotate these to close to 90 degrees, and I'm going to select all and say realign, and I'm just going to click it a couple times. I have all my angle pieces and their caps have some UVs. They're all facing pretty much the same direction. So let me go ahead and unhide everything, and then I'll hide these, and I'm going to select everything inside of my square, and I'm going to do an hide unselected. So now I go back to my awning, and I'm going to pretty much do the same thing with these columns down here. I'm going to go to my polygon mode. I'm going to select these columns, and I'm going to want to turn off select only visible. I'm okay selecting the things behind it because I know all it's hitting are columns, and press UW. And then I'm going to go back to my projection, and let's go ahead and snap to our visible area, hit frontal, and these two images match. And then I'm going to go to optimal angle, I'm going to apply, I'm going to go relax everything, and then I'm going to hit realign and hit that a couple times. I'll hide everything that's unselected. I'll select all the UVs that are horizontal, press U and W, and I'm going to rotate it, and then I'll realign those as well. And you see how they all pretty much match up at this point, which is good. This is what we want. And then I'm going to show everything one more time, and then I would like to select everything on the inside. I'm going to hide everything else, and then all I know, I do know that this awning right here, and I'll go ahead to my polygon mode, turn off the only select visible, hit UW, and if I hide that, yeah, that should clear that out. So I'm just going to move these using our UV selection and E over to the side. So now I only have all my columns. I'm going to select all my columns. I'll do a quick realign a couple times. And there you go. All the caps are lined up vertically and they're UV mapped. So I can take all of these and just set these over to the side and hide them. And then all I have to worry about is this awning. So kind of the same process. I'm going to go ahead and go to my top view right here. But first let me go ahead and select these top polygons, and because there's so little distortion in this already, I'm just going to keep these together. So I'm just going to select these. I'm not going to relax them, and I'll show you why. If I try to relax this, so I say I go to a frontal projection, and I'll zoom in, and then I relax it. You see how well, it worked. Sometimes you get a little distortion though, that I found in the past, but I'll realign that. This one has a little bit of a bubble kind of thing going on, so you may, for me in this instance, I'm going to just keep this in the frontal mode, and I'm just going to realign it so that edge is sharp and I don't have to worry about any adjustments or changes. And then I'm going to select these bottom polygons, like that. I'll go back to frontal, and then I'll realign it, and I'll turn this off, and then all I have left are these, which I can do a quick select all. I can go back to my optimal map, and I can do like an angle map on it, and then do a realign. And I know that these are facing the wrong direction, and I don't know what this is, so we're gonna have to look into that. But I know these two in particular are facing the wrong way, so let me select these, and then I'll realign, and then this one, where are you? Ah, look at this. So in doing the angle map, it separated this section, but it kept everything else attached. So instead of like trying to go through here and adjust everything using really specific movements and stuff, and adjusting nodes, I'm just going to select these, go to frontal, I'm going to relax it, and then I'm going to rotate it around and realign it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this whole section right here. I'm going to go frontal, relax, and then I'm just going to select everything. I'll make sure I hit relax, and I'm just going to hit this realign button a couple times until everything is facing pretty much the correct direction. Okay? Alright, so that was that section of the building. so I can unhide all of that, select all this goodness, move it over, and then I'll reselect all of the things that we've UV mapped, and I'll hide it. So now we have this section, which is this big building part right here. I'm going to go ahead and close these polygon holes. I'm going to use the bridge tool instead. One. And this one has an open hole right there. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, we got a fully enclosed building right here. Alright, so if I go to a frontal mode, and I want to show this to you, and then I do a box. Now we mentioned using box, using a box projection to UV map. This would be a great one to use as a box projection if it didn't have any other assets. But since it does, we want to be able to use the optimal mapping, and we want to be able to realign it. But even though this looks perfect, this is tricking your eye. These points really aren't connected. If I show you a realign, you see how everything gets all distorted? And I can even drop this on here, and you see how all these edges completely mess up and nothing aligns to itself? That's because this UV map box is not telling the absolute true story. So if I collect this UV selection, and let's say I just highlight this area, you think this would be like one side of the building. Truth is that it's just projecting on the left side, and it's hitting all the normals that are facing the right side. So these pieces are not actually connected. So if I select all these and I do an optimal map and I do a realign, you see how we get this really crazy distorted thing. And when we're doing buildings, we want to keep them all horizontal at the same angle, so that when we apply our texture, all the windows line up, all the tiles line up, all the blocks line up. So we can't use this method at this current situation, because if we didn't have any, additional stuff like the roof and the pillars and stuff, we could probably get away with this box and do this real quickly. But since we do have all these other UVs in this model, this option is not really beneficial to us. But we can UV unwrap this really quickly if we just kind of tell Cinema, this is what is the roof, this is what is the side of the wall, these are the things we want to connect and strip apart, and then it can kind of go real quickly. So first thing is I want to select all my roof tiles. So in roof polygon area, the mode, I'm just going to take my mouse and highlight these roof pieces. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and relax those, and I'm going to realign them. And these are correct. If I move my UVs right over here real quick, I could show you, let's see, this roof is correct. This is the opposite side. This is the first L up here. This is the next L right over here. You know, they're not lined up exactly correctly, but this is the total ceiling area, roof area that we want to deal with, which is perfect. This is exactly what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and select these by pressing U and W to select all the connected, and I'm going to start kind of hacking this down piece by piece. So I know I want the sides of the buildings to be one gigantic wrap. So I'm just going to select these polygons, and I'm just going to go around this entire building. And I would be cautious about the folds, like in this area right here. you may get some distortion if you try to unwrap all the folds at one time. I'm just kind of I'm going to be stripping this entire area, kind of like I would be peeling an apple, so to speak. So, you know, the more detailed your cut is on an apple peel, the more likely it's going to break off or it's not going to fit correctly. So I'm just going to keep holding my mouse down with the shift button and select all this side stuff. And I'm going to select this edge. And then I'm going to connect these bridges right here, because I know that these bridges are going to be carrying the same texture over. And I could include the bottom, but I'm not going to include it at this time. And then I'm going to go to my frontal mode. And then, oh, I forgot. I need to add a line cut here. So I go to my line mode, and I'm going to go to this path selection. And I'm just going to draw a straight line, oops, right down here. Then I'm going to go back to my front mode, hit frontal, and I'm going to hit relax. And you see how now I have the entire exterior strip set up. And I know these smaller polygons are the top of the roof. So I'm just going to hit R and rotate in polygon mode and rotate this over like this. And then I'll do a quick realign, and I'll show you that if I hit the hide selected, the outside of the building is gone. This is exactly what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. Then I'm going to select some more of this building and start stripping all these parts off. So let's see. I'm going to very quickly select, let's do this side of the building, this side of the building. I want the sides that it's connected to. Right? And, yeah, you know what? We could probably also take, yeah, I'll hold off on those. And then I'll just go to my front mode. I'll go frontal, relax, and then I will realign. And you notice how it realigned it incorrectly. So I'm going to make sure I select in UV mode these polygons, rotate so that they're facing the right direction. UW. Let's do a realign. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and hide those. Now I'm going to take these kind of front area polygons. So I'll select these, UW, and what else can I take? I think that's it for right now. Go ahead and frontal, apply a relax, realign, and go ahead and hide those. And then these areas right here, these wrap around like full boxes. So if we're going to just select these boxes and maybe these two additional ones on the side, let's go ahead and make sure we give this a cut. So I'm going to slice it right here and right here. And then I'm going to go to my polygon selection. I'm going to select, let's see, how about I select these polygons right here, and this center ones. And then I'll select all of these, this, and all of these. And then I'll do a quick frontal and apply a relax. And you see how it unwrapped those boxes real quickly. And then I'll do a quick realign. And then in the UV mode, let me go ahead and select this, UW, and I want to rotate this, let's see, probably like this, because then these two sides will match up. And then I'm going to select all this goodness and realign, and then turn those off. Now I'm left with this bottom base area. And this is actually a good thing. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to select, how about I take, this top section of UVs, and that's its own island right here. So I'll just go ahead and relax that, and I'll hide it. And then I'm going to select all these UVs on the floor, and I don't want to deal with any tricky unwrapping here. I just want to select the things that I know are pretty flat, and if I do a quick hide selection, it hides the entire floor, so I know I got it correct. And then I'm going to do a frontal and a relax and a realign, and let's get the floor facing this direction, and then go ahead and hide that. And now all we have is this this wall right here that we can need to unwrap. So I'm going to do some quick cuts here. I'm going to cut this building using the path selection tool right here, and I'm going to cut it right here. Then I'm going to go back to my UV tool. I'm going to select all my tools, and I'm going to go frontal projection, and I'm going to relax it using the cut selected edges, and then I'm going to realign it using optimal. And now all I want to do is make sure that I select my UVs that are in here that are connected, and I rotate them so they're all facing the same direction. So if I hit U, W, and then I rotate with the R, and then I hit apply. All right, now they're all facing the same direction. And then I'm going to hide that. So now I got nothing left to work on. So I got to unhide everything. And I have this huge mess right here. I'm going to go ahead and select all of this. And then I'm going to make sure I hit realign, and I'm going to preserve my orientation now because I kept making sure that everything was vertical and straight. Now I just want to set it all into one UV. So I'm going to hit this a couple times. It's going to optimize the best fit that it can tell. And then I'm going to take my material and drop it onto here. And let's do 50% and 50% on our UV map. You see how it doubles the size of it? Now you see how the 50% scaling works on the texture tag. All right. So let's look at this and see what we did right and what we did wrong. I'm looking at this, and I can tell you right now we did a lot of things right. So you could see the numbers. They're going all the way across. The numbers in here are correct. The numbers also wrap all the way around, and they're all facing the correct direction. These bottom numbers right here are a little bit off, so I can select, let's say this, and I hold U and W. Oh. No, that was the connect. I'm sorry, U, W, and now that shows just this area right here. So if I want to make sure that these are perfectly aligned, all I have to do is go press E, and I can slightly adjust my UV map so that everything lines up. And so when I put my texture tags, I have no issues here. And then I think the last things we need to worry about right up here, besides some minor adjustments, is you see our roof right up here? It reads backwards. So all we have to do is go to UV commands and then mirror. And let's go ahead and mirror this way so that our numbers go right across. And other than that, this UV map is pretty much done and ready to either go to client or go to the game developer and get used in whatever medium you guys work in. Okay, so hope this was good for you. My name is Al from renderready.com, and thank you again for your time.